Here's a segment from a recent Gun Talk radio episode. You can listen to all the Gun Talk radio podcasts however you tune in, or check out guntalk.com for more. One of the guys that's been shooting guns quite a long time now, Max Michel, is a friend of ours. He's a top competition shooter, many time national world champion, leader of Team SIG. He's out there at the SIG Freedom Days right now in New Hampshire. What'd you say, buddy?
How's it going, Tom? Appreciate you having me back.
Good. You're one of the, not only are you one of the best shooters on the planet, you're also one of the nicest guys, too. I just have to let people know. It's like you help people out all the time. You are very quick to say, hey, here's something you might want to try. You kind of like the whole training thing, don't you? You like to teach people.
I do. I absolutely love training, and number one, I love to get better in anything that I do, but if I can help others get better with something that I'm passionate about, it just, fuels my passion even more, whether it be law enforcement, military, or competitive shooters, or anyone who's out there just caring to protect our loved ones. It's a passion of mine. I grew up shooting, and I just love to share that knowledge with others.
How old were you when you started shooting?
Well, believe it or not, my dad got me started shooting when I was 5 years old, and I was competing at just 8 years old, 8 or 9 years old. I was already competing. Yeah. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, I can, actually. That sounds about right. So, all right. Yeah. You work with, the top shooters, military, law enforcement, special forces guys, folks like that. But it's something like the SIG Freedom Days, which just wrapped up there. You get a lot of regular folks coming in. They bought a ticket. They're in there. They're shooting stuff. Are you walking the line? Are you like trying to help people and show them things when this is going on?
Yeah, so I actually do several presentations throughout the event, and those presentations can range from dry fire, with me talking about stance, grip, drawing from a holster, trying to find the red dot. That's a very hot topic nowadays. And then also doing live fire demonstrations as well. So it's a lot of fun. But I would say right now the common question is, how do I find that little red dot?
Okay. So what is the answer?
Well, I would say this. Number one, it's going to take work and effort for sure, because the very first thing that we do, we pick up the red dot and we can't find it. And we say, you know what, I'm going back to the irons, because the iron sights are always going to be there. I've never lost those before. But if we can really just give the red dot a chance, it will make you faster and more accurate in time. Because it's just a free-floating red dot that's always focused on infinity. You never have to worry about coming back to the front sight, to the rear sight. Is it lined up? Those types of things. But to answer your question, Tom, I think the easiest way to find the red dot is anytime you're mounting the gun, whether it's on a draw stroke, after a reload, after a movement, whatever reason you've dismounted the gun, you want to do it in a consistent manner and pushing it into a straight line out to the target. Rather than going over the top or lifting from below the target, driving it in a straight line will help you first off, for sure. And then from there.
I was thinking about this. Don't you think that a lot of us, whether we know we're doing it or not, whatever our draw stroke is that we've been using, we're picking up the front sight almost with peripheral vision and letting it drift into our line of sight from whichever direction it's coming, whether it's from the top, from the bottom, or whatever it is. And it works on irons, but doesn't work on red dots.
Yes, I like to bring that red dot kind of closer up towards the center of my chest and then drive it straight out from there, because I can start acquiring that dot about halfway through that extension. And that way I can start kind of figuring out. For me, I have multiple sight pictures, and I don't want to bore you with all that right now, but it's basically based upon dot stabilization. So as soon as the dot is stable enough, I want to break that shot, and I want to know that on the extension on the way out. And most of the time when guys are extending, or shooters are extending the pistol out to the target, their hips kind of go under their body and their shoulders go back. So if you can envision somebody driving the gun out to a target right now and they're trying to get into a comfortable shooting position, most of the time we lean back when we shoot. And if you lean back, the gun's going to be slightly elevated, and that means the dot is going to be somewhere in la-la land above the target, and we're trying to find it. So I always like to tell shooters during that extension that we just talked about, try to push your hips back slightly. And that's a byproduct of that will be your shoulders will go forward, and that's going to almost drive the gun downward toward the ground, which is where it needs to be to find that red dot.
One of the things I notice when I see you shoot, different from a lot of people. Now, a lot of top shooters kind of have the same look. You don't waste any motion. You don't do, I don't know, call it the turtle draw, where the neck goes down, your shoulders go humping up, and do all that super tactical stuff. It's when you draw, it's almost like nothing else moves. You just get the gun out of the holster and up, and you're looking through whatever sight you're using. because everything else is wasted motion, right?
That's right. Any extra motion is going to be added to the timer. And as a competition shooter, we have that little timer device that tells us to the 100th of a second if we were a champion or if we were a loser. So we're trying to shave as much time off the clock as possible, and any additional movement adds time to the clock. So my goal time is my hands move to the gun, my gun moves to the target, and that's it. The gun comes into my line of view, my head's not moving, my shoulders aren't moving, my hips aren't moving, my body is staying completely stable once I get the gun in my hand and going out toward that target.
I'm thinking about trigger press right now, and there are a lot of different ways to explain. People talk about trigger pull, trigger press, trigger, this and that and the other. When you're talking to people about the trigger, and I am of the opinion that that's the primary device that people use to screw up their shots. What do you tell people?
So I think there's a couple of things when it comes to that, two-part to that for me. Number one is going to be trigger finger placement. If you're shooting combative style shooting or action style of shooting, it's important to make sure we have the center of that first digit flat on the trigger. If you put just the tip of your finger in or too much finger into that trigger guard, you can actually influence where the muzzle is pointed before you activate the trigger. So in other words, you could be aiming at the target, and if you have too much finger in there, well, as you go to press it back quickly, the gun will turn towards your dominant side, and it then will lift in recoil off target.
Right.
So it's important to find that first kind of meaty portion of that first digit flat on the trigger to be able to press it straight back to the rear.
Okay.
Yep, and then, that's kind of that. Yeah. And then, to me, that's that first part.
And then bringing it back. I mean, is there a thought, a swing key, if you will, a thought in your head in terms of moving that trigger back?
So as far as bringing it back, it depends on the distance or the difficulty of that shot. So that's a great question. That's kind of that second part I was going to get to, was that if the target is close and easy, and in my opinion is large, and for my skill set, I'm going to just slam my finger straight back to the rear, or slap that finger straight back to the rear as fast as I can. Because here's my definition, Tom, of recoil management, or really of trigger control. Trigger control is nothing more than activating the trigger as fast as I possibly can without disturbing the sight off the target. So if the target's close and big, I'm going to slap through all that engagement and just break the shot. But if it becomes more difficult, then we do what I call that pause, prep, press, where we're pausing to allow the dot to stabilize, prepping to get rid of the slack of the trigger till you feel that kind of wall area, and then a consistent push straight back to the rear till the shot breaks.
Of course, for most of us, we're watching you shoot. We can't tell when you're doing one or the other because it all looks incredibly fast to us, but you're adjusting on the fly.
I am, and that's all being driven by what I'm seeing with my eyes and how much the dot is moving and how difficult the shot is, and these things are being done in hundredths of a second in my head. I'm kind of determining those factors.
Sounds good. Hold on a second here, Max. When to come back, I want to talk about this new P226X5, cool-looking pistol, and also he's heading to the World Championship, and I got to know more about that. We're talking with Max Michel, of course, world champion pistol shooter, and on Team SIG as well. We're talking with Max Michel, competition shooter extraordinaire, former Army Marksmanship Unit member in the U.S. Army. Max, I'm just looking online here, and this brand new P226X5, that's one gorgeous looking pistol. What's the story here?
It is. That's something that I'm obviously passionate and excited about, because when I first got to SIG, maybe 2008, 2009 timeframe, this was my first love at SIG. When I got to the company, I was looking for a gun to be able to compete with and shoot with. And wow, the 226X5, the original X5, at that time was made in Germany, and it was really handmade from the custom shop in Germany. Incredible pistol. It was really the most accurate and the fastest gun that I had ever shot at that point. And because it was difficult to get, here, it was a little more expensive, it just kind of went away. We stopped making them. But now we're making them here in the U.S., and they're much more, that we've achieved a much better cost point, and they're obviously more readily available because they're being made here, so they're back.
Well, the other thing is, and it's hard for people to understand, they always talk about, well, those are handmade. Yeah, that's fine. But a lot of stuff, particularly guns that were handmade in the old days, weirdly enough, we're actually able to make them better and less expensive now because of the production methods we have.
That's exactly right. So our machining now, our advanced machining here up in New Hampshire, where I'm at right now at the factory, I mean, it's incredible what they were able to do now with these guns. So we're getting the same sort of accuracy, and the amazing trigger, by the way. I'm sure you've shot it as well. I shot it with Ryan and the boys not long ago at your place down there in Louisiana, and the trigger is so easy to shoot. It's just, you barely touch it and it's going off, and it's resetting very quickly as well.
It ruins you for other pistols.
Yeah, that's a fact. It does. It really does. It spoils us, as they say.
Yeah, there you go. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, so I know that you have your competition season, but then every once in a while something comes along where it kind of dwarfs everything else, and you're getting ready to go to the World Championship. Talk to me about that. Where is it? What is it? What are you shooting?
So I'm very excited, Tom. It's going to be in Thailand. I'll be shooting the X5, the P320 X5, that is, and I'll be competing in my 8th World Championship. And we have the World Championships every 3 years. It's like our action shooting Olympics. However, it was not held in 2020 because of COVID, so it's finally here, and I'm able to represent Team USA for the 8th time. And the last 7, I've returned home with 7 different gold medals from the team standpoint, and I was fortunate enough to win one of those individually as well with a gold medal back in 2014. But this time I really want to do it with that P320 X5 in my hand and the Romeo 3 Max optic, and to be able to bring that gold medal back for my country, for SIG, would be absolutely incredible.
Well, you know, with all those gold medals, there are some people out there who would say you're just greedy.
Well, my mama taught me to share, but not when it matters.
Amen, brother. It's like, I'm your buddy until we get on the line, right?
That's right.
You know, and it's weird how you can do that. Even when we were shooting against me, who doesn't shoot very well, you're always just a little bit better than I am.
Well, you know, like I said, when it matters, Rob Latham taught me that one time, a long time ago as well. He said the only time you don't have to be nice to him is when you're pulling the trigger. That's your job. You go out there and do it to the best of your ability. Every other time, just, hey, smile, shake hands, help everybody out. But when it matters, you shoot, and you shoot hard. Your
goal is to beat people. That's why you're there. That's as simple as that.
Absolutely.
It's funny you mentioned Rob when you were talking about when you're moving fast and you're slapping the trigger. I thought, oh, you're going full Rob Latham on it.
That's right.
He's the master of slapping the trigger, isn't he?
He is, and he's still incredible. He's slapping the heck out of that thing still to this day, winning matches.
Well, it's an interesting point you make. The oldest person to ever win a gold medal in the Olympics was in shooting. And you can shoot for an incredibly long time and be competitive at it. It's really kind of between your ears, and then what are you willing to devote to it, isn't it?
It is. It takes a lot of sacrifice on your part, and obviously the companies that you work for, and then your family. I mean, they all have to be dedicated. They all have to be driven toward that goal. And when you win that championship, yes, you're the guy pulling the trigger, but there's a lot of folks around you sacrificing, helping you as well. And if everybody's on board, you can shoot for a long time, and it's definitely mental the more that you do this game. I just had a long conversation with Daniel Horner, my teammate, last night. I went to dinner with him. We talked a lot about the mental game, and it's the longer that we do this, I mean, the gains that you're getting physically, you're not really getting. I mean, in fact, you're probably going the opposite way physically, but it's the mental side of things. If you're willing to commit and you're willing to put the time in, you can stay on top for a long time.
Yeah, but what does he know?
That's right. Yeah, well, he's the best 3-gun shooter on the planet. What the heck does he know?
And again, it's the same deal. I shot on a squad with Daniel a couple of months ago. It's like, nicest guy in the world. And we're all laughing and joking. And when he gets on the line, I don't care who he's shooting against. If it's me or the world champion, he's going to try to beat you. Simple as that.
He's got that killer instinct for sure.
Well, okay, here's a quick story for you. I'm doing a piece many years ago with Jerry Michel and some guys, and we took a bunch of action shooters. I can't remember if you were there. I don't think you were. And we took them to the Olympic Training Center. And we did kind of this cross deal where we had the Olympic slow, fire shooters and the action shooters, and they're each trying each other's game. And Jerry had been out shooting, and he came in to do this radio interview, and he's just like, you can see the steam coming out of his ears. And, he said, I said, well, how'd you do? He said, well, I did great on 9 targets. I dropped 1 target. And I said, well, Jerry, it's just a demo. You guys are just trying, this stuff. And he looked at me like I had horns coming out of my head. He said, you don't understand. I want to beat these guys at anything and everything, whether it's pitching pennies or racing shopping carts. It doesn't matter. I want to beat them.
That's right. I like that attitude. Absolutely.
That's you guys. That's all you guys.
Yeah, I think it's just, a passion. Like I said, I mean, I love shooting. I love competing, and I love winning. I mean, that's why I do what I do. I want to be remembered as a good person, but I also want to create a legacy in the sport of action shooting. So many, many years from now, they can hopefully put my name with the Rob Lathams and the Jerry Micheliks and the Doug Koenigs and continue to win at a high level for a long time.
Partner, you're already there. Come on. You're so there. Anybody that hasn't seen you shoot needs to go on YouTube and look at some videos of you shooting. You are incredible, and you are really a treasure for all of us because you are willing to share all this stuff. So I just want to thank you for what you do and for being able to share all that.
You got it, Tom. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thanks, sir. Max Michel, he's a shooter. He's also a good guy, and I'm really, really happy to be able to call him a friend. Thanks, Max. Good luck at the World Championship.
Thank you so much. I hope to bring the gold medal back to Louisiana for us.